Welcome, age of vintage society. Lamarr's life, while short, could have easily been an epic film drama of its own. During her teens, Lamarr, whose real name was Retha Dale Watson, ran away from home to escape her strict upbringing, causing the press to believe she was kidnapped by her older half-sister and a male companion. Why was Barbara Lamarr banned from Los Angeles as a teen? Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. There are a handful of legends, Princess Diana, James Dean, John F. Kennedy, Sr. and Jr. come to mind, who died before their time and who, by virtue of having left us in their prime, will remain forever young. Another such legend who didn't live to see her 30th birthday, but who attained a status far beyond her years, was Barbara Lamarr, whose moniker, the girl who was too beautiful, remains her hallmark. In 1914, at age 17, strong-willed, infamous Retha Watson was declared by juvenile authorities to be too beautiful for the city and banished from Los Angeles. She soon returned, became further marred in scandal, and was subsequently barred by the film studios from working as an actress. Reborn as Barbara Lamarr, she achieved renown as a dancer in the foremost cabarets throughout the country and on Broadway, acting in headlining vaudeville skits, and became a highly paid screenwriter for the Fox Film Corporation in the same town that cast her out. Her exotic beauty, curvaceous form, and potent presence enticed film producers. She temporarily averted association with her increasingly turbulent past, long enough to reign as a preeminent vamp of the silent screen in the 1920s. Through it all, her stormy private life striped the pages of newspapers and film magazines. There was no reason to lie about Barbara Lamarr, her publicist confessed after her death at age 29 in 1926. Everything she said, everything she did was coloured with news value. A personality dangerous, vivid, attractive, a desire to live life at its maddest and fullest, a mixture of sentiment and hardness, a creature of weakness and strength. That was Barbara Lamarr. Her life story is one of tempestuous passions and unbending perseverance in the face of inconceivable odds. It is of a woman's fierce determination to forge her own destiny, amid the constant threat of losing it all to scandal and ultimately death. When a woman is tagged too beautiful, my first instinct isn't one of pity, so normally Barbara Lamarr's sobriquet, the girl who was too beautiful, would generate more eye-rolling than sympathy, but although the phrase was meant to describe her dangerous effect on the opposite sex, the only real victim of her beauty was Barbara Lamarr herself. Largely unknown today, Barbara Lamarr was a famous movie star of the silent screen, as well known for her off-screen exploits as on. But in on-screen and off-screen paradigms where beautiful women fit into two neat little boxes, naive ingenues needing protection and knowing vamps we need protection from, Barbara was unfairly vilified. Unlike many sirens of the silent screen, Barbara was raised by two seemingly stable parents, and her siblings play an important part in her story. Barbara's father was a writer, newspaperman, irrigationist. Her parents moved from that small town to another small town in California, and from there she left home at 14 and travelled southward. As a young girl alone in the frantic pace of Los Angeles, she got her first taste of excitement and never looked back. She first worked as a burlesque dancer and was arrested for underage dancing. In court she encountered a judge who, dazzled by her teenage beauty, asserted, "You are too beautiful to be in the big city alone and unprotected." In juvenile court that day, coincidentally, was reporter Adela Rogers St. John's, who not only agreed with the judge's statement, but was awed herself by Retha's beauty. She took the teen into her newspaper office and presented her to her fellow reporters. That day started a whirlwind of activity in the young girl's life. Her initial career goals were to be a screenwriter. She sold a number of scenarios, under the name of Folly Little, to Fox Studios. She was, by all accounts, a wonderfully vivid writer, with a penchant for poetry. In addition to her Catholic schooling, Retha was absorbed by the stories her father read to the family in the evenings. She immersed herself in his extensive book collection from an early age, further honing her innate intellect. Bolstered by her father's encouragement, she first composed little verses and soon found great joy in penning fantasy-like tales. However, a beauty such as hers would have been wasted if not before a camera. At the insistence of Mary Pickford, Retha took a chance at acting. Pickford is reported to have asserted, "My dear, you are too beautiful to be behind a camera. Your vibrant magnetism should be shared by film audiences." Pickford, always one with an eye for film greatness, couldn't have been more right. By 1910, aged 14, Retha had set her sights upon an acting career in the newly emerged motion picture industry. Her attempts to launch her career, however, were beset by frustration and discouragement. Her father opposed her career choice, but nonetheless afforded her a chance to break into films. He permitted her to travel with her mother from their home in California to Los Angeles, and eventually joined them himself, taking a newspaper job that enabled the family to remain in the city together. But Retha, despite her determined efforts and talent, was unable to obtain anything beyond uncredited background roles. With a weighted heart, she kept trying. Retha was the kind of girl who, when she made up her mind, she made it happen. She spent her childhood performing with stock companies in a variety of plays. The motion picture industry was still new, but prescient Retha just knew that this was going to be her jam. Turns out becoming a movie star, even in the nascent world of movies, wasn't all that easy, so our heroine found a way to star in some major drama in real life. In 1913, 16-year-old Retha starred in a real-life drama that rivaled the offerings at the local movie houses. It began when she inexplicably vanished from her family's Los Angeles apartment, following an encounter with her estranged half-sister. Presuming the worst, her father charged the police station and reported Retha kidnapped. Stolen, he told authorities, by her half-sister and her half-sister's married boyfriend. A massive search for Retha ensued, encompassing multiple states and spawning sensational headlines. The saga continued when Retha reappeared unharmed, telling the district attorney and reporters of having experienced what she described as the most horrible ordeal of her life. Yet testimony given by her half-sister, her half-sister's boyfriend, and certain witnesses at the preliminary hearing revealed that Retha's story was not all it seemed. A judge ultimately halted the matter from proceeding to trial, citing a lack of supporting evidence against Retha's so-called kidnappers. Another kidnapping involving Retha soon unfolded, at least according to Retha. Approximately 2 months after her initial purported kidnapping, her father, owing to her newfound notoriety in Los Angeles, obtained newspaper work in El Centro, a remote town in the southeastern California desert, and Retha and her parents left Los Angeles. By age 17, unable to tolerate the desert heat, or her overly protective parents, Retha had returned to Los Angeles alone. When she rejoined her Los Angeles friends, she made an astonishing announcement. While away with her family, she claimed she had been married and widowed. She reported the groom to be Jack Little, a handsome, wealthy Arizona rancher. He had pursued her relentlessly, she said, but she had declined his proposals of marriage. Then, supposedly driven by desperation, he allegedly approached her in his car one afternoon as she rode alone through the desert on horseback. She described him pulling her from atop her horse and into his car, forcing her to accompany him to Mexico and to an altar. Retha further related that, 2 months into their happy marriage, tragedy struck. While Jack was away attending business at another ranch, she said she received a letter from a mutual friend, informing her of his sudden death from pneumonia. Anyway, before widowhood, Retha took to dancing in Los Angeles' many cafes and cabarets. She was good at all the latest dance crazes, and she was a very good-looking girl, so despite her being underage, she was welcome in all the hottest places, and welcome to their liquor. However, when her dad heard what his little angel was up to, he got LA's finest to force his daughter to come back home. But remember, our girl's good looks weren't the only things powerful and persuasive about her. If the powers that be said she was forbidden to live in Los Angeles without her parents, She'd simply get her parents to move back there with her. Still only 17, but champing at the bit to be on her own and extricate herself from her parents' grasp, she leapt into marriage with Lawrence Converse, a garage manager she'd known for, wait for it, a week. The day after the wedding, Retha finds out hubby already had a wife. Lawrence said he had no memory of marrying Retha. It seems his irrational, immoral behaviour stemmed from a head injury he had sustained years earlier. Immediate surgery was required, the doctors said, to relieve pressure on his brain and, it was hoped, restore him to his former self, to prove he wasn't responsible for his bigamous marriage. Converse underwent the operation. His plea of innocence cost him dearly. The surgery resulted in his death. So, who do you think was blamed for Converse's death? Larry and that ridiculous excuse, his doctors, the surgeon, those mean old bigamy laws? Nope, teenage Retha was the one who took all the blame. The media laid it all at her feet. Her scandalous escapades were too well known, and film studios deemed her unfit for their pictures. The twice-widowed teen went back to dancing, hooking up with ballroom dancer Robert Carville, on and off the dance floor. Decades before branding was a thing, she changed her name to Barbara Lamar Dealey, the final surname from her fourth husband, more on them to come, and appeared in 2 films in 1920. However, it was 1921 when her appearance in her 3rd film got audiences really interested. Co-starring with Douglas Fairbanks in The Nut, her role as a wicked vamp utilised both her considerable physical assets and her acting talents. Another excellent Fairbanks vehicle followed. The Three Musketeers saw Barbara sink her teeth into her role as Milady de Winter. That was followed by such silent classics as Arabian Love, The Prisoner of Zenda, and Souls for Sale. During the making of the latter film, life took a drastic turn for lovely Barbara Lamar. She sustained an injury on the set of the picture, co-starring Eleanor Boardman and Mae Bush. To curb the pain, studio doctors prescribed medication. Barbara, already a seasoned user of alcohol, quickly became addicted, and as her life became more complex and stress-filled, owing to her skyrocketing popularity, she grew to depend on dangerous combinations of medication and alcohol to cope. Barbara also became more dependent upon her friends. One in particular, Souls for Sale co-star Zazu Pitts, would play an important role in Barbara's personal life in just a few fleeting years. By the time she was 28 years old, Barbara Lamar had taken her 5th husband. She was very hopeful when she wed cowboy star Jack Dougherty. The two soon had a son, Marvin, nicknamed Sonny. However, motherhood did little to curb the frantic cycle her life was in. I cheat nature. I never sleep more than 2 hours a day. I have better things to do. I take lovers like roses by the dozen. Barbara Lamar can be likened to the roses she mentioned, beautiful in their prime, but with a limited lifespan, and as her health declined, she looked forward towards her son's future. She asked friend Zazu Pitts and her husband Tom Gallery to adopt Sonny. This they did. He was later renamed Don Gallery. Her health was deteriorating off-screen and her stardom was dwindling on-screen at the same time. In more innocent times, audiences often confused stars with their movie persona. The celluloid vamping and the real-life mishigas melded together, and Barbara Lamar's films started to become banned and boycotted. After a meteoric rise, by 1925 her star was already starting to fade. Like lots of other women in the 20s revved up by a newfound and unprecedented emancipation, Barbara was hell-bent on burning the candle at both ends, and tragically Barbara Lamar did not last the night. Her final picture was the first national feature, The Girl from Montmartre. Already suffering from tuberculosis, she collapsed on the set in the midst of filming. Taken to her home in Altadena, California, she died on January 30th, 1926. Her tuberculosis was worsened by her sleep-deprived lifestyle. Close to 40,000 mourners, fans and fellow Hollywood peers attended her services. Even after her untimely and premature death, Barbara Lamar remained an influential and popular star. One of her biggest fans was producer Louis B. Mayer. In honour to Barbara, he gave one of his future discoveries, Hedy Chrysler, a new name, Hedy Lamarr. As beauties go, she remains a headliner, and as Hollywood legends go, it seems that Barbara La Marr will endure as a star of beauty and talent to match, and that her light will continue to shine forever. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you are new here, and if you want to support my work, please visit my Patreon page. Barbara La Marr was noted by the media for her beauty, as well as her tumultuous personal life. Starting young in showbiz is a dangerous game. Tuesday Weld has experienced this, and she had a nervous breakdown at the age of 9. Watch this video to get to know why.